Black people should have been stopped Latinos from using the N-word a long time ago. Because this racism stuff has been going on since they arrived in the States. This isn't anything new. But now it's just starting to get out there and being a light and everybody talking about it.
Latinos and Hispanics, more specifically non-black Latinos and Hispanics, will pretend that the N-word is not offensive, but then get offended by being called something like Latinx. Non-black Latinos will pretend that the N-word is not offensive, but then get offended when you ask them to not use the N-word. A common thing that you'll hear Latinos say when they're called out for using the N-word is, well, if I can't use it, they can't use it either. They referring to black people. And that begs the question, why do you want to say it so much? Latinos, you have so many alternatives to use. Latinos have a whole other language of words that they can use instead of the N-word, like fu, ese, whatever you want. But instead you choose the N-word. And it's one thing to use the N-word and then change your language when somebody tells you it's not okay. It's another thing to defend your use of the N-word because you're too lazy to expand your vocabulary. And a lot of Latinos will go on and say, well, it's not that big a deal, you know. I have black friends and I say it around them and they don't mind. And that's fine. Sure, if your black friends are okay with you saying that, that's them. But let's be honest. If you are a non-black person using the N-word, you are very careful with who you use that word around. Because you know that the moment you use it around the wrong person, that you will get checked. And it won't be as nice as somebody telling you to not use the word anymore. Let's stop playing dumb. I heard somebody say that if we can't use the N-word, then black people can't eat tacos. As if eating some culture's culinary items is the equivalent of using a racial derogatory slur that was meant to dehumanize people. It is not the same. It is not an equivalency. Don't play dumb, because the moment you try to defend your use of the N-word and you are non-black, all you do is let other people know that you aren't playing. You're just actually dumb.
Since so many Hispanic people are complaining about not being able to say the N-word and how we got to stop telling them not to say the N-word, okay, bet, I got a solution. How about black people as a collective? Why don't we take back a slur that's used on them and we complain about us not being able to use it? Yeah, how about this? How about we take the word back and we make it our own and we tell you how much you sat here and marketed that word and you use it so much in your own community and you use it so much in your music that we should be able to use it. No? You don't like the sound of that? That didn't make any sense, did it? Now you know how we feel. And remember, if you got an issue,
I have tried to make this video like 5 times and I keep blocking the speaker, so I'm gonna try to not do that. Okay, I just wanted to add my 2 cents on the Miami Cubans / Miami white Hispanics that have been using the N-word all their lives and have never been checked for it. Me specifically, I am Puerto Rican Dominican. My mom is a white Puerto Rican and my dad is a black Dominican. And I don't know, in my household it was never explained to me that I was black. Like, Dominicans specifically try to erase their blackness and they really don't like it when you call them black. It's a deep-seated issue, but I feel like this is also an issue globally. The darker you are, obviously, the more you experience racism. The lighter you are, the prettier you are, and the more respect you receive, but it's fucked up. But yes, so all of the Miami Cubans and Miami white Hispanics, Miami white Cubans, who say the N-word have never been checked in their life, unfortunately. But I guarantee if they ever leave their little Miami bubble, they would get popped immediately for saying it in the presence of a black person. And I really hope more people do that. Just hit them in the mouth immediately. I have had to defend my own blackness almost my entire life because nobody here knows the difference between race and ethnicity, unfortunately. And like literally the other night I was at Lincoln's Beard and I was speaking with 4 guys that were white, and they were like white Hispanics, and I was hitting on one of them for a sec, and then their friend dropped the N-word, and I called him out immediately. I was like, you can't fucking say that. And he was so defensive. He was like, who are you to assume my race and my ethnicity? I'm like, bro, you're white as fuck. And he's like, I'm Chilean, Chinese, and European. And I'm like, bruh, bruh, bruh. Like, make it make sense, and it doesn't. And he was literally like, I know more black people than you, bitch. Ugh, I was by myself, so I wasn't about to fight with 4 men. But I just walked away after that because, like, I just don't have the time to try to educate dumbasses. And yeah, nobody should try to educate any dumbass, but yeah, just hit them immediately, because what the fuck. So I just hope that if someone would ever come into that situation where a white person is using the N-word around them, I just hope they're being called out. I hope they are defending their black friends and family. And I hope that if it has to get to violence, like, violence is an answer. So hit them.
Latinos are not allowed to use the N-word. You cannot be against black people or be racist towards black people, then turn around and use the N-word. It doesn't work like that. Now, if you was united with black people, then maybe you'll be allowed to use the N-word. But you're not united. Your whole culture is anti-black. So if you was taught to dislike a certain group, why would you use a derogatory word and think it's cool?
And I'm going to say this. I live in Las Vegas, where a lot of the Latinos move from Cali. They move out here. They're so rude. They're so disrespectful. They say the N-word all the time. They pretend like they don't understand English so they don't have to talk to us. So, yes.
So amidst like all like that video going around of like the 2 like Mexican people using like the N-word to that cop about the kava and all that shit. You can see it on Twitter and shit, but it's like I have never seen a black person ever use like a slur for like Mexican people. I've never heard them use the setback slur. I've never heard anybody say the one that starts with the B. I've never heard a black person say any of those slurs ever before. And like I'll make a different video about how I feel about the N-word because I'm not trying to get myself in no trouble today. Not today. But the thing is, I can understand that some people grew up thinking it was okay to say that in certain contexts and da. But what gets me is like when like Latino people like they try to use it as a word to like, use that word to make themselves seem tough, make themselves seem unapproachable, try to like flex and shit. That's where it becomes not okay because you're trying to equate being tough and being scary and being unfuckable with to being black, and like that's not cool. And like additionally, I had a coworker and like we're great friends now. We're chill, like we chilling. But like he had dropped the word, like he was Latino like at one time, and like I didn't talk to him for maybe like 2 months because I was just disgusted. Not because he used the word, but it's like I don't use that word around my grandmother. And she's black, I'm black because of her experience. I know it can be offensive to her. I don't use that word around her. And it's certain groups of black people who I'm around with them, I'm not going to drop that word just out of respect. I went to like a predominantly white middle school / elementary school. I didn't use that word just because respect for the space. You know what I mean? Like it's like I'm not trying to bring no extra attention to myself. It's unnecessary. I don't need to be using it. So if there's no conversation, like if you approach me and it's like, oh, well, how do you feel about me using this word? I'm not gonna stop nobody from saying whatever they feel like they need to say. But if you're gonna just bypass that conversation and just assume that I'm gonna be okay with you saying that, that's where it's fucked up for me because you wouldn't do that to the black security next door who has a little bit of age on me. You know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to say? It comes with the conversation. I feel like a lot of the times Latino people, it's like they just feel entitled to use that shit. And there's been spaces where I'm not even entitled to use that shit. And I'm fully black. And like on Twitter, like they say it's like but Mexican people couldn't even stop using like the N word for like a day. Like black people out there putting their little lines like alongside them in solidarity in the protests and shit. They couldn't stop using it. And that's the truth. That's sad. It really is sad because once again, you don't see black people using slurs for Mexican people. You don't see it happen. Like I've seen black people say "essay," and that's it. It's a shame. It's a shame, and it's like they're doing it to like come off as tough and be strong, and it's just it's not making it worse for their group of people. They're making it worse for black people by using it like that, within that context. It's just a shame. And I understand it is not all Mexican people. It is not all black people. It's never all of one, like the group in question. It's never everybody. There's always exceptions. There's always a group of people within the population who's going to stand out from the norm. I acknowledge that. It's not everybody. I don't even harp on no hard feelings towards nobody. I think it's just very silly.